new little setup here. I used to do music on this channel, but I was bored and wanted to just do a synopsis of what I think of some of the genius of James Gunn. And I know that sounds weird, and I'm just going to tell you, because a lot of YouTubers and a lot of reports are really overanalyzing the moves that James, with the James Gunn slate. I know it's a little old, not the most timely thing, but I just, from my perspective as a comic book fan, and then for people who are casual fans, and the genius of James Gunn is he's not rebooting DC. I would prefer, a full clean slate, but he has been, dropped on in the massiveness of the Matt Reeves and the Joker world. They're not going to stop that. The movies making money. And then you still have Aquaman, one of the few DC films that made $1 billion. And so they probably want to just hold that out to the branch. And then you have the Snyder world, the Snyder universe, the CW world. So James Gunn has kind of said that, they was passing out IP addresses, to everybody, properties, Superman, Batman, everyone get a piece. CW got the Superman and Lois, so everyone's got a piece of it. But I think what James Gunn is going, his thinking is, everything's going to come through him, and that is the reboot. And I think that people is thinking, well, is it going to be a connected world? And I don't think people realize it's not going to be connected. And I think that James Gunn has said everything's going to be connected because more than Marvel, James Gunn is looking at Star Wars as the blueprint. Because if you look at Star Wars, Andor is from a different time period. The Mandalorian is from different period. The Rise of Skywalker is from a different period in different episodes, and they're gonna continue doing the different chapters along the way. James Gunn, and even the video games and the animated shows of Star Wars, it's most in continuity. And I think that in continuity is different from is it in the same world. And I think that no one's going to overlap and tell a different story. And I think that characters in Supergirl world is going to be different from the Batman Brave and the Bold. Now that may change, but this is the thing that people have to realize: the genius of James Gunn. If he does a Batman Brave and the Bold, for example, and that's one of the slates, if that doesn't make a lot of money, then James Gunn says, okay, we can do a Batman Year One version, or we can do a Dark Knight version. We could do a Batman, and it could be Dick Grayson. But that's going to be set in it. Supergirl, World of Tomorrow. That is just written by Tom King. That's a one particular storyline. If that doesn't work, then he can do Supergirl versus Apocalypse. The Commandos is going to be animated. The Authority, it could be connected or in the self world or somewhere crossing across with Superman. And then you have the Superman Legacy. And if that doesn't work out too much, you can do Superman All-Star. You can do the John Byrne Superman. So he can play around. Swamp Thing, he can do the Alan Moore's version. If that doesn't really work out, he said that was one particular chapter in it. We're not going to, reinvent the wheel. If Swamp Thing version doesn't work out, Scott Snyder has a world, with the Rot World and Animal Man. So what it is pieces and Lego. If the Supergirl doesn't work, they don't have to start from scratch and throw away everything. They just won't do another Supergirl movie. And then maybe down the line, do another version of it. The Lanterns, the Green Lanterns. If that doesn't make a big success of it, they can just not just do another season of the Lanterns or another film of it. And so that way, that's the genius of it. He would never have to reboot ever again. It's just pieces playing with the pieces. And that's the risk that Marvel did, but yet, because Marvel, not to compare it, different story, when they did Captain America and the Thor and the Iron Man to build up to Avengers, all of those pieces had to fit. In DC many moons ago, had a Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds, didn't work out. Start all over. Brandon Routh Superman Returns. Start all over. And Marvel made the pieces and put together. But I think James Gunn is like, well, if this movie doesn't work, Superman Legacy, I've got other projects, Blue Beetle and other things to come up. So I just will not get a part two. But the train is really going to continue with that. And that's why I'm going to like, yeah. You know, so people, I'm just fascinated because YouTube was like, well, Brave and Bold, and is this Superman gonna meet the Brave and the Bold in his legacy? Right now, that's not James Gunn's priority of connecting it all together. I mean, that's just not his. You know, that's not his cup of tea right now because he's trying to make good movies individually. You know, and like I say, I'm not campaigning because I feel a kinship with James Gunn being the underground, in the underdog and the writer, and I love the Guardians films, and I was surprised for this, DC moment, but the people at Warner Brothers was like, the Guardians of the Galaxy are some of the biggest superheroes. Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman, merchandising, and movie star merchandise should be just as popular. Not Batman merchandise, but just Batman merchandise, making brand new merchandise. Because you can collect all the Batmans in the world, but if the Batman Warner Brothers ones or the Batman Brave and Bold, they want you to add a new piece. Because people can buy old Joker t-shirts and not wear Joaquin Phoenix. So they want new merchandise to an already fan base and a newer fan base. So like Rocket and the Guardians of them, 20 years ago, a Rocket Raccoon Rocket Raccoon T-shirt and things like that is unheard of, and now everyone knows Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon and stuff like that, and waiting for the third movie and the holiday special. So I know somebody at Warner Brothers is like, but why can't we get Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman on the same new merchandise, profitable out there too? So I would have just did a clean slate and just said, okay, it's going to be a brand new world. But, it's just too many contracts and ties into it. So people are like, well, man, why won't he just, and, it's just, it's just kind of weird. And then I kind of give credit. You got to give a little bit of credit. And, when people connecting it to, and not another little, campaign. I think about The Rock. The Rock situation was bring everyone together who's played these characters in one battle coming up. I mean, The Rock included the Snyderverse, Superman, then the James Gunn. He even included the James Gunn pieces of that Suicide Squad. I mean, The Rock even put James Gunn's wife in the Black Adam film. So and then you had Amanda Waller from the first Suicide and the second Suicide Squad, and also the connection of the Peacemaker. So Justice League and Suicide, and then the old-fashioned Just Society with a history behind it to bring it all together. But, it didn't work out to be, maybe down the line, but people's interest in the movie wasn't the same. It wasn't like thrown off the roof, which is kind of, but that's a whole new different video about why that people didn't work out. It didn't work out because people didn't see it. But that's why, in closing, I want to say about the James Gunn, that the genius of it, you got to sit back like, oh, okay, I don't have to reboot. I just have to reboot certain pieces. And so, on that note, I wish you all good night. Thanks for listening.